What's up YouTube, and welcome to another draw along with me. Today's tutorial is the beautiful octopus, which includes this beautiful dust brush as well for free. So hit the link in the description down below for the palette as well as the free brush. If you're new here, I post Procreate content every single week. So if you'd like some tutorials to follow along with, hit that subscribe button as well as turn on the notification bell. And as always, a huge shout out to my patrons. Whereas if you'd like to get access to 2 extra tutorials every single month, as well as extra benefits on Discord, as well as our Facebook group, hit the link down below and show your support. And with all that said, let's get started. So let's create a new canvas for today's design, and the canvas size is 2500 by 2500. And once we're in, we're going to go to our layers, we're going to go to our background color, and we're going to switch it out to this color here in the bottom left hand corner of the palette. So now we can get started on drawing our octopus. So to get started, we will go to our colors and let's double tap in the top left hand corner to select white. And once we've done that, we're going to go to our spanner. We're going to go to canvas and we're going to turn on the drawing guide. And then we're going to edit the drawing guide and we're going to use the option of symmetry. And if we use our little slider up here at the top, we can see a color on the screen that nicely contrasts to the background. And if we hit done, we've now got our vertical line of symmetry, and our new layer, if it's not already turned on, should have assisted there, but you can simply tap on it and turn on the drawing assist. And then we're going to go to our brush library. We're going to scroll down until we find the calligraphy section, and we're going to use the monoline brush. And for this one, I'm going to set my brush size to roughly around about 20%. And we want to draw in the octopus's head now. So we're going to start by drawing essentially like a little balloon shape. So we can start roughly here and then just round it out at the top like so. And then I'm going to drag and drop my color in, and that's the base of my octopus, and then we can add in the tentacles as well. And then we're going to simply zoom in and then just draw the body a little bit like so, and then drag and drop the color in for our octopus's body. And now we can go to our layers and we can turn off the drawing assist on this layer now. And now we can draw in the tentacles for the main part of the body. Now what we need to do is we just need to draw a little flick off of the side. So we want to follow the line of the body and then flick out on the side. So we're going to follow the body and just create a nice little flick like so. And then from that end point, I'm going to come all the way back around and link back into the body of the octopus and drag and drop white in there like so. Now we don't want to go all the way around and curl back on ourselves just yet with the tentacles, because we're going to add 2 layers. This layer here we're adding is the top part of the octopus's body, and then we're going to draw in the nice curls and flicks for the underside where we get to see all like the little suction cups. But that's essentially, we're seeing the top part of the body here, and then as the tentacle rotates and twists, we'll then reveal that with the extra layers that we'll create afterwards. And now we can do the same on the other side, and maybe you could do it a little bit different. Maybe you could create a smaller flick and then come all the way back around again and link back into the body. And that's all we're going to create for this layer. We need to build up 3 different layers of different variations of the tentacles. But the only thing I will do is I'm going to grab my cursor and I'm just going to scale mine down and position it back in the center again, like so. So now I'm going to go to my colors and I'm just going to switch it out to a different color. So I'm going to grab a different gray so I can see the change in variation between the white and the next set of layers that we're going to create. I'm going to go to my layers and create a new one. And I'm going to drag that layer underneath our octopus's body, because that now needs to sit at the very top. And now we're going to draw in the tentacles for behind the octopus. Something like that, again creating a nice little flick at the end, and then link all the way around to your shape and then drag and drop the color in, and we've got our extra tentacle done for there. I'm going to create another new layer because these layers now need to be somewhat separated so we can highlight and shadow them accordingly afterwards. So we'll create another new layer, and with the same color, same brush, everything still selected, we're going to create another tentacle here in the middle, so somewhat of an S shape this time. So I'm just going to create a nice little S, and then again from my end point just go all the way back up, link all the way around to my start point, and then I've got my second tentacle. So now let's go to our layers and create another new layer for the third tentacle in this group. And we're going to just simply draw in a third little flick. So I'm drawing like S shapes quite commonly. And then from my end point, I can then just follow back on myself a little bit and then link up and then drag and drop that in. And because they are on separate layers, you can adjust them. You may want to rotate them, such as I am here, and we can then position them where we want them. As well as I'm going to scale this one down here as well. So just bring that up and scale it down like so. So that's the second layer of tentacles. We just need to draw some now in the back, and then we are good to progress on to the rest of the design. So let's go to our layers. Let's first of all create a new one, and let's drag that layer underneath all of our 3 new tentacles. And I'm going to change my color out again just to something varying so we can see the difference between all the shades that we've used so far. So just a slightly darker grey this time. And continuing with the brush as it is, we're going to draw in 3 more at the back. So we're going to draw in some little tentacles out the back here. So there's 1. And I can drag and drop my color in like so. And we don't have to create a new layer this time if we don't want to. It's just as long as we separate them nicely, because these are right in the very back. So I'm going to draw in a more of a straight line squiggle this time, and then add that one in there like so. And then I'm going to draw in the last one here, so some sort of flick like so, just in the back like that. And then again, we can also scale them down if we want to, adjust them how we wish, and maybe position them slightly closer together. But otherwise, we've got the tentacles for our octopus all now scaled out and drawn. And now we can add in the little flicks, like I said, to reveal the underside. But let's firstly add in the correct colors for our octopus. So if we start at the very top, we've got the white layer here for the octopus. Let's go to our color palette, and we're going to drag and drop this blue color here into the octopus. So it's second row, second color in, and drag and drop that into that space there. And we're then going to drag the same blue into these 3 tentacles here. So we're going to go to our layers and select then the next tentacle down, and just drag and drop that in like so. And then we're going to go to the next one down and also drag and drop that in. And then the next one down again and also drag and drop that in. And then we're going to go to our layers, and for the back 3 we're going to tap on that layer. We're going to go to our colors, and we're going to select this color here, the third row, second one in, and we're going to drag and drop this color into all 3 of the tentacles like so. And now what we can do is we can start to move on, like I said, to revealing the tentacles themselves coming round from the underside. So we're going to select this purple here on the top row, second one in. We're going to go to our layers, and let's create a new layer behind our main octopus body, and we'll do so like that. And continuing again with the monoline brush as is, what we essentially need to do is we need to continue the same motion that we've created with our nice little flicks, and then curl them back on themselves and reveal more. So what I mean by that is we're going to come round here, we're going to flick round and then link back up. So I'll show you what I mean, and then I'm going to bring it outwards and flick it round. And now from my end point here, I need to do the same and flick it straight into this point here, and then link up all my purple together, so I can drag and drop the color in like so. And now what I've done is I've revealed a huge part of the underside of this tentacle. Now of course I need to go to my eraser on this occasion with the monoline selected still, and I just need to touch up this line here so that it fades nicely into the blue like so. And likewise I could go to my octopus's layer here for this blue here and go to my eraser, and I could just flick that round like that so that these 2 lines now smoothly fade into one another. So if I zoom out, you can see we've got a lovely nice big area here to work with when we come to add in our suction cups, and we're going to do the same over here on this side too. I'm going to follow the motion of the blue and then flick it round like so. Now this one's obviously a little bit smaller, and again I've got to just draw in a line underneath that layer to link up my shape, so I can drag and drop that in. And obviously there's a slight adjustment here I've got to make where this blue needs to nicely tail into my purple. So I'm going to then also go to my eraser. I'm going to go back to my layers and the octopus's layer. And I'm simply just going to just fade that round like so, with a nice bit of motion just to smooth that round. And then my tentacle nicely folds back on itself. So now we've got the two here, we can then go ahead and add some smaller variations just down here on these tentacles as well. Now again, we can keep all on the same layer if we wanted to, so I could actually grab this layer and drag it underneath the 3 additional tentacles that we've got. And if I go to my brush again, I can just do exactly the same. So we're going to draw in a nice little flick here, like so, and then link up our shape together. And that's good with me. I'm not going to adjust that one on this occasion. And then on the other tentacle here, I'm going to just draw a smaller flick back on itself like so. So with this one, I've just gone a little bit smaller. We're just revealing a tiny little bit of the underside. And then on this one here, I'm actually going to start at the end point and link all the way around. And then I might have to erase parts like that. And then going back to my brush, I can then just flick round and then link up my shape together. And then I've got my extra little bit of tentacle revealed underneath there. And now what we'll do is we'll start to add in the suction cups, and then we can then also start to move into the shading. So now let's go to our colors and let's add in the tentacles sort of suction cup. So we're going to switch it out to this color here, the 6th color along in the 3rd row. And let's go to our layers and let's go down to our tentacle revealing area and let's create a new layer. And then all we're going to do is simply draw in some circles and sort of flattened areas like so, following the motion of the actual tentacle itself. And I'm just drawing like little ovals, and you could spend some time if you wanted to. You could hold down on the brush and draw in a perfect ellipse, or you can freehand them like I am. And we're just drawing in some tentacle sort of suction cups underneath. And then I'm going to try not to put them side by side too much. Kind of like that sort of zigzaggy look to it. And it looks quite good when you leave the page slightly in terms of the outline of the tentacle. So this one here, for example, comes slightly outwards. And I'm going to just continue to draw in these tentacle suction cups, making my way around. And then as these get smaller, and so does the flick of the body, we also need to factor in then how big they need to be. So if I then zoom back to normal, you can see where I've added mine in and sort of the motion that they're following. And you could even add in an extra one down here like so. And we're going to do that for all the tentacles now. So I'm going to continue over here, add in one there, add in one here, and let's add in one here, and another one here. And just draw in like some quite rough eclipses. I don't want them to be perfect. I don't want them to be perfect eclipses. So I could draw one and then hold my brush down. But I'm just going to make them kind of rough and also random as well, so that we get some nice sort of realism to it to an extent. And then let's move down to our other little tentacles down here and add in some down here. Maybe these are slightly smaller. They could be the same size, but you'd get less of them. And let's just add in a few there. Let's add in a few here. And then finally, this last tentacle here. I think I'll only add 3 on that one. And then when I zoom out, we've got all of our little suction cups added in. And now we can get started by adding in all the colors and all the shading. So what we'll do is we will go to our layers and we'll start off with the octopus at the very top. And what we'll do is we'll tap on that layer and we're going to use the option of alpha lock. I'm going to turn off my drawing guide now because we don't really need it at this point. And then we're going to get started with the highlights first. So we're going to go to our colors And we're going to use this color here on the top row, the first color. So then we're going to go to our brush library and we're going to find the dust brush that's been provided in the description down below. So you get a free brush out of this tutorial and you'll be able to use that in any other designs that you create. Typically it'll either be at the very bottom under imported, but once you find it, we're going to tap on that and we're going to then go to our size of our brush and let's make it about 20% to start with. And what we're going to start off with is all the lighting is coming from this top right hand corner. So we're just going to simply create a nice soft highlight around the edge of the octopus just to give our direction and give us a guiding eye. And we can just slowly bring in that color, and the lighter you press with this brush as well, you get a nice soft look to it. So I'm just shading again, going around on myself. And then we're going to do the inside of this tentacle here. And just the top edge here. So you see this line just here. We're just going to start a bit outwards and just bring a little bit of this brush onto that as well. And then let's move over here to this tentacle and we're going to add a lovely big highlight inside of this tentacle like so. And this is just the first color in our shading and highlights, so we can build them all up and add in some extra colors and tones as well afterwards. And the final one I'm going to do is just add in a very light one just around that left hand side like so. So we've got a lot of that directional light in there. Let's then switch it out to our yellow, which is this one here on the third row. It's the fifth color in. And then on the same layer, we're just going to then stroke again, but harder towards the right hand side and just add in a much brighter yellowy look to that edge like so, and highlight more prominently where we want our highlights to be. So we've got a very punchy outer look here. And then I'm also going to reduce my brush size down to about 10% now, and then just do the same on the inside. Now I've reduced my brush size so that I can be a lot more fine with the detail and not overlap the pink too much. And likewise, let's just add in a little bit here and another tiny bit in there too. So that's the highlights. Let's add in some shadows. So let's go to our colors and let's switch it out to the background color that we used, which is this one here in the bottom left hand corner. And then with our brush size set to roughly about 20%, we want to start shading in the center here. Now we will start to reveal the body that we created initially, but we are going to darken all of this area here anyway. So don't worry about it too much, that you'll see the body of the octopus that you created. So I'm going to reduce my brush size back down to about 10% now, because we're going to get quite detailed in here in the tentacle. So on the outer edge, the opposite edge, we're just going to stroke that edge, adding in this brush. It's a lovely brush. You get the nice dust effect in there, and we've now shaded in, and then we can also shade under there as well, so it really looks like it's twisting back on itself. And then we're going to do the same on this side as well. So we're going to shade the left hand side edge basically, and then when it starts to fade out into a highlight, we can leave it. So just add in that nice dark underlayer like so. And then in the body as well, we kind of want it to go upwards into here a little bit. So pressing quite lightly, you just want to stroke upwards into sort of this area here, and then we need to just really punch out the shadows somewhat in this little area here like so. And then we'll add in some sort of like just sort of skin shadows really in here. So we're going to add some sort of strokes like this, just where the octopus's body, and sort of 3D look to it. And let's then shadow in this left hand side edge as well, just a little bit. And then if I zoom out, we should start to really now see all the lighting come to life, as well as the body of the octopus as well. And then we can contrast these lines that we've drawn in here as well by going to our colors. We can switch it out to this color here, the first color on the second row. I'm going to increase this lightened area here, and I want to punch out some more pinks in there as well. So just adding in some more like that till we get a lovely big nice highlight from that right hand side. And then what we can do is, while we're still sort of messing with the top area of our octopus, let's shade in and highlight the tentacles first, and then we can move on and progress all the way down the design. So we're going to go to our colors now. We're going to switch it to our highlight color, the yellow, so the 5th color on the 3rd row. We're going to go to our layers and we're going to go down to our tentacle layer, which is this one here. And then we're going to tap on that layer and also alpha lock it as well. And now because all the light's coming from the top right, we can start to add in that lighting on the underside as well. And then so adding it in on that soft edge there. And then likewise, we can add some nice highlights in here too on the octopus's tentacle. So just a little bit here, just with that directional light, and we could go in and change the color to then the extra color that we just ended with up here. So this color here at the 2nd row, 1st color, reduce the brush size down to 10 again, and then just add in some extra color in here as well. So it fades from the yellow into the pink into the dark purple, and we'll do the same just here as well, like so. Now let's add in the shading for the tentacles. So let's go to our colors again, and let's use the dark blue that again we used in the shading for the body of the octopus. So here in the bottom left, and then we need to do the opposite side of where we added our highlight. So this bottom edge here, and it flick round. So we're going to first of all shade in this bottom edge here, and then also here as well. As it starts to curl back on itself, we are just adding in that nice highlight and shadowed area like so. And then let's go over here as well and let's do the same thing. So we're going to shade this bottom tip here because the light wouldn't hit it, and we're going to just flick this shadow around a little bit on the edge like so. Now the only thing I'm going to do is just add in more of a shadow in here where this tentacle overlaps on itself. So I'm going to switch back to the octopus layer at the very top and just very quickly add in that lovely shadowed area underneath the tentacle like so. And now while we're here, let's shade in our suction cups as well. So on the suction cup layer, we are going to then tap on that layer and also make it an alpha locked layer. So we're going to shade in the edges of them, and then we're going to add in their shadows that they're casting as well. So for this one, I reduced the brush size down to roughly about 2%, and continuing with the same color that we were just using for the shading, which was this one here in the bottom left hand corner. We're going to stay on the suction cup layer, and again we need to bear in mind that where the light's coming from, so the top right, so everything on the left hand side we need to start shading in, and we also need to add in sort of the circle in the middle for the suction cup itself. So let's just add in that in these areas first. So where is the sort of suction area in the middle? Almost like a donut. And let's just add that into all of them first. And then let's increase our brush size. Let's go to roughly about 5% and then just shade in the left hand edge of all of our little suction cups. And then obviously we're creating some shadows here, and they would also cast a shadow onto the skin underneath, so we'll go in and add that in a moment, but we just want to shade in these areas here first. And these ones here I'm going to darken a bit more because they're actually hidden in the sort of the shadowed area of the tentacle. They wouldn't be on show too much. So that's what we need to try and achieve first of all. And then if we switch back to the tentacle layer that's being revealed, so the purple area, we're going to also then add in that shadow as well. So we can add in the shadow such as here, where this tentacle suction cup's now casting that shadow down onto the purple bit of sort of skin underneath. So we're just casting in our shadows really. Adding just that extra nice little piece of lighting can make all the difference, as well as also a shadow too. And I'm just drawing that in on all of them, and then we want to essentially repeat this process on every single tentacle. But you can see what we're trying to achieve. We are adding in the sort of circle in the middle for the sort of donut look, then we shade in the actual tentacle part here, and then we revert back to the actual purple layer and add in a casting shadow as well. And then when we zoom out, that really gets the lighting coming to life a lot more. So now let's essentially repeat the process on this right hand side. So we are going to first of all reduce the brush size down to 2% so we can add our little donuts in there. We're going to go to our layers and we're going to revert to the suction cups. And then on this layer we can then start to draw in where those little suction cups would be. Like so. And then as before, we can increase our brush size to 5% and add in the casting shadow first of all on the cup itself. So this edge here, and again the left hand side edge. So once you get your lighting direction, it should be fairly straightforward to understand the concept that everything facing it is obviously going to be highlighted and everything facing away would obviously be shadowed. And I'm just shading in each one. And with this brush, you get a nice sort of dust effect to it. It looks really cool. Let's add in all of the shadows in here. Like so. And then let's move back to the purple layer and add in the casted shadow now. So just adding it in on the left hand side. In a circular motion I'm pressing and adding in all the shadows. Like so. And when we zoom out with 2 fingers, we end up then with that side also complete. We can now progress onto these tentacles underneath and somewhat repeat the process of the highlights, the shadows, and the same with the suction cups. So if you're liking the video at this point, drop a like down below. It's completely free, but it also helps me out an awful lot and the channel as well. So let's go down to our layers first and let's work out which one is the top one. So if I move across my canvas, if I turn it on and off, this layer here and this tentacle is the top one. So let's do the same thing as we did before. Let's tap on it and use the option of alpha lock so we can just draw within the tentacle we've drawn. And let's first of all start to match up these shadows here in the underside of the octopus. So if I actually increase my brush size back to about 10%, if I do a circular motion and start to just shade in, you'll see then I start to paint within the boundaries here, but also blur that line between what was the underbelly here that we drew into this tentacle, which is exactly what I want to achieve. So I'm then going to shadow all the way down the left hand side of the tentacle. And then this can also start to sort of go inwards within the tentacle itself a little bit. So I've shaded it in nice and dark at the top to blend in, and then I've added in the shadow here where it's not facing the light, and you could be nice and firm if you wanted to and really punch out that shadow over there. You may even add a little shadow here where this tentacle above is casting it down onto the one below. And then we want to switch it out first of all. Let's go to the pink first, so this color here, so the first color on the second row. Let's highlight this edge here like so. And that's looking awesome. And then we can switch the color out to our yellow, which is the 5th color on the 3rd row. Reduce the brush size down to 5 and then just stroke the edge just to give out that extra punchy highlight like so. And then we get a lovely contrast between all the different colors as well. So that's that tentacle done. We can then move on to the other tentacles and repeat that process first before we move on to the purple areas. So then let's switch back to our shading color. So this one here in the bottom left hand corner. Let's go to our layers and go to the next tentacle down, which is this middle one. We're going to tap on that layer and make it a alpha locked layer so we can only paint within the boundaries of it. And then let's just go back to our brush size and increase that back to 10. And we know we want to start shading in here. So if we start to work out by doing a circular motion where this sort of shape is, we can see it starts to connect in here. So I can go nice and dark towards the top. I can shade under here where maybe this tentacle is casting a shadow. And then we want to just stroke the left hand side with our shaded area. So maybe that shades all the way around like so, until we end up with a shadowed area like that. Now this flick is obviously being shown in behind, so we can nicely just quickly add a nice highlight onto here. So let's go to our colors. Let's switch it out to this one here on the second row, the first color. And again, Let's stroke that right hand side edge like that. And then once again, one more until we can bring some highlight nicely in. And then let's reduce the brush size down to 5%. Let's go back to our colors and switch it out to the yellow on the third row, the fifth color in. And then just stroke the edge on its own, just adding in that lovely extra highlight there. And let's repeat the process for the third tentacle as well. So we're going to go to that layer, we're going to tap on it and make sure it's an alpha locked layer. We're going to go to our shading color first. So this one here in the bottom left hand corner. Increase the brush size to 10%. Again, shade in here. We want this nice and dark. So all of these now sort of fade into one another, and it's nice, and it's not very obvious where the boundaries are of each one of the tentacles, which is nice. And then shade that left hand side edge again, just the same as we did the others. Just shade the left hand side. And then we can switch it out to the pink on the second row, the first color. And we can stroke now just this edge here where the light potentially is coming and rebounding in. And let's add in a little bit of yellow as well on the third row and reduce the brush size to 5, and just maybe just a very small one there like that. So now we can move on, and you can nicely see how this has started to blur into one another, and we end up with the front tentacles all nice and bright. We've got lovely highlights all bouncing. And now let's go to our layers, and let's go back to the purple layer for the sort of under suction cupped area. And then let's repeat the process. So let's go back to our shading color, which is this one here in the bottom left hand corner. And let's keep the brush size still at 5% because these are very small areas here. And you need to define which way your tentacle's facing. So mine's flicking round backwards on itself. So again, I'm going to shade in the left hand side edge and just give that a nice flick round. And then maybe I would add in a little shadow here where it does actually start to curl on itself. Now I'm going to switch my color out to then the yellow and just add in a very soft highlight just through the center here and just over on this tip like that. And then when we zoom out, you can see it nicely curls round on itself. And we'll repeat the process for these two over here as well. So let's remain with our highlight color. Let's then just add in the highlight on where that would sit, which is on the right hand side. And then let's switch it out to our shadow color, which is this one here in the bottom left hand corner, and shade in the left hand side, as well as a little bit in here where it folds around on itself, and add in some lovely shadow and fade that line in. It looks sweet when that's done. And let's continue over on this tentacle here. So while we are with the shadow, let's keep that. So the shadow would be casted here on the left hand side, so it's actually going to cast back on itself like this. And then let's also add in a little bit of a shadow here, just again where it starts to fade and flick round on itself. And then let's switch it out to the yellow for our highlight color. And just stroke this right hand side edge like this and bring in some of the highlight a little bit, and a lovely highlight maybe in there too. And then when I zoom out, we've got our highlighted and shadowed in little areas here. Nicely done. And now we can repeat the process for the suction cups as well. So now let's go to our suction cup layer. So let's go back to this one, turn it on and off to be sure. Let's switch it out to our shadowed color, which is this one here in the bottom left hand corner. And again, let's reduce the brush size to 2% so we can add in the sort of donut look to it. So we add in these little dots in the middle and then move across. Let's continue that on with these as well. And then let's move across again and add in those sort of circular suction points in the middle, our little donuts. And then just as we did before, let's increase the brush size back to 5% and then shade in inside the boundary of the suction cup first. So the left hand side pretty much. Like that on that one. And then these ones here are going to be very dark because of the way I've done mine. So I need to actually darken them up quite a bit. And then moving across, I'm going to then draw in the last shadows here on these ones. And then just as we did before, we then need to switch back out to the purple layer and then continue to draw in the shadows casted. So such as this, nice circular motion around where the cup is. Like this, that's good. And then finally over here too. And bear in mind sort of the nature of the tentacle and where is it sort of positioning and the movement of it. You can then maybe add in sort of rounded shadows. And then when I zoom out, we've got our main body of the octopus now completely done. We just need to add in some very subtle sort of shadows and lighting on the ones in behind. And then we can add in our light rays for the sun. So let's go to our background layer for our 3 tentacles that are just in the very back there. So if I zoom in, you'll be able to see them turn on and off. And we're going to tap on them and use the option of alpha lock as well. And we're going to go to our colors and we're simply going to use then this dark purple here. So top row, 5th color in, and with our brush size set to about 10%, all we're going to do is maybe highlight the right hand side edge of these tentacles. That's all we're going to do for the ones in the background. So nice, quick and easy highlights in there. Maybe on my one I need to add a highlight there, but otherwise the right hand side edge. And that's all we want to do, as well as maybe add in a little bit of the blue as well. So let's switch it out now to that blue on the 2nd row. And then let's just add in a little bit of the blue on the shaded side, to the left hand side, just to reflect somewhat maybe the color of the actual octopus. So that's cool with me. What we'll now do is we'll draw in some sort of background color. So let's go to our layers, let's create a new one and drag it underneath. Let's go to our colors and I'm going to use this color here. So the top row, the 2nd color. I'm going to increase my brush size all the way up to the maximum size. And I'm just going to draw in a circular motion until I draw in some of the purple there like that. And you can see if I zoom in, you know, I've added a nice little glow in behind here, nice and subtle. And then the final touch is to add in some light rays coming down from the top right hand corner. So we'll create another new layer. And then we're going to switch our color out to our yellow that we used. So the 3rd row, 5th color. I'm going to reduce my brush size all the way down to about 30%. And then I'm actually going to go to my layer and drag that all the way up to the top. And now with our brush ready to go, we can simply just create some nice lines in. So 3 of the lines like so. And you should end up with some nice little lines making its way through the sun. And if you did them nice and soft, it should be a nice subtle look and effect. And if I pinch out with 2 fingers and I go full screen with 4, we end up with today's finished tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, drop a like down below, helps the channel out an awful lot. And if you'd like some Procreate content to follow along with every single week, hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the notification bell. And as always, be sure to share your designs with me on Instagram. Make sure to tag me in your post so that way I don't lose them in my feed. And as always, a huge shout out to my patrons. I'll drop a link down below if you want to go and show your support over there, where you can get access to exclusive Discord content, Facebook group, and 2 extra tutorials every single month. So again, I'll leave the link down below if you want to show your support, and I'll see you in the next one.